Hey guys, what's up? How are you? Are you doing well? I really hope you are. I'm doing rather well. The weather is making me kind of sad because it's been raining so bad these past days, and that's making my mood go. Phew. But I decided, and I'm probably gonna regret that decision. I decided to make a video reading horror stories. In fact, it says horror stories so you won't be able to sleep at night. So yeah, I don't know if that will be a good idea in my end after I finish filming this video and read all those stories, but I was like, I gotta take a risk. So here we are. The first story we're gonna read. Oh, before I start, those stories were submitted to a forum. It's called Horror Stories, and they are supposed to be actual events that happen, so they're based in real events, or so it says. So let's start. The first story that we're reading is Hannah's Invisible Friend. So Hannah was living in a village in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, but it was too crowded, so the family wanted to find a less crowded place to live. So they went to a village called Juan Carlos that was less crowded, with less people living there. So they had been spending a lot of time looking for a house, and they weren't able to find something. So they asked someone of the people from the village to maybe give them any suggestions if they knew anything, and the person sold them a house that was built in the 17th century. Hannah didn't quite like the side of the house. She became instantly terrified from the house from just by looking at it, but her parents decided to ignore whatever she was saying, her fears, her unwillingness to go to the house, and they decided to buy it. Now, the house had some history, but the villager kept that history quiet from the people that wanted to buy a house. Now, the history hadn't had people live in it for 200 years, and the last people that lived in that house was the Gilbert family, and apparently there was a legend for that family. The legend said that the father used to rape their young daughter for 3 years. One day he went mad and he killed his wife and his daughter, and then he killed himself with a gun. One neighbor heard the gunshots and called the police. When the police got there, they only saw 2 bodies. So I'm sorry, but the power cut out. As I was saying, only 2 bodies were found. The mom and the dad. The little girl was never found, and it's rumored that her spirit still lives inside the house. Her name was Samantha, so keep that in mind for what happens next. Also, the people from the village knew the entire story, but no one warned the family. Fast forward, as I said, the family moved to the house. Hannah still was feeling uneasy being there. She was home with her babysitter since her parents were at home. And as she was sitting at her living room, she looked around and she saw a figure of a girl. And the girl was like, "Do you want to play? Do you want to be friends?" Hannah was terrified, and she turned around to see a young girl, really tired in her features, with bloody, ripped clothes and wounds on her face, and she was holding a doll. Hannah was terrified, and she was about to call someone, but Samantha told her not to be afraid, that she was Samantha. "I am Samantha, what's your name?" And Hannah introduced herself, and then Samantha asked her again if she wanted to become friends. So Hannah agreed, and the two started playing with her dolls. The babysitter started hearing noises, so she went to the living room, and Hannah was like, "Here's my friend, do you want to play with us?" And the babysitter, of course, saw no one. And she thought that Hannah was teasing her, making fun of her, making jokes. So she pulled Hannah to the side and started yelling at her to get some answers. Samantha didn't quite like that. She didn't like the behavior of the babysitter. Like, who is she speaking to my friend like that? So Samantha watched the entire thing. Hannah was explaining to the babysitter, and before she could speak more, the babysitter decided to slap her. Samantha was pissed off after that accident, after that, slap. I will call it an accident because I want to hope that it was an accident and that she didn't quite mean to do that. Hannah started crying and Samantha started messing with the lights. Lights started going on and off, again and again. At one point, a vase was lifted and moved, and it went and hit the babysitter on the head, and she fell to the ground and she started bleeding. Samantha wasn't done yet though. She moved the light from the ceiling that was there for about 500 years, and she made the light fall on top of the babysitter, which resulted in the babysitter dying because her entire body was squeezed and the entire room was filled with blood. Hannah didn't panic at all watching that. She thought that she took her events in a way. And after all this was done, Hannah stood over the dead babysitter's body and she was like, "I told you she exists." So, her parents came home. Rebecca is Hannah's mom. She went to the living room. She saw the blood and she immediately passed out. Jack, who was Hannah's dad, picked up Hannah from the body because she was standing over the dead babysitter's body, as we said. She picked Hannah and locked her in her room. Afterwards, he took the dead body to take care of it in a way, maybe try to bring her back to life, but that didn't work. So he laid her down on the bed and let her rest. After a couple of hours, he went to Hannah's room and asked her what has happened. He unlocks the door, he goes inside and sees Hannah on one knee and staring at the wall. Jack goes close to her, and the moment he touches her shoulder, Hannah turns around in a changed face and starts screaming. Hannah continues to scream, and after one point she stops and she starts looking at Jack patiently. He was stuck on the wall because of the whole thing. Hannah, while having a strange behavior, started crawling slowly towards Jack and started talking to him and saying, "Your daughter is mine, your daughter is mine." Jack realized that some spirit has control over Hannah's body. And suddenly he tries to grab her arms. But before he managed to get close, an invisible source pushes him away and throws him against the wall. The house starts to shake and the lights start to tremble. Jack is feeling dizzy. He gets up and starts begging the spirit to leave Hannah's body and leave his family alone. Samantha gets even more mad after she hears that, telling him that she never had a family, a real family. I mean, her own father raped her and then he killed her and her mother, so that's not quite what you call really a family. Suddenly, behind where Jack was standing, there was a massive closet, and before he was able to look behind him, the closet falls and squeezes him, resulting in him dying instantly. In the other room, Rebecca, which is the mom, as we told, was coming back to her senses. The first thing he sees is the piece of sheet that was covering the dead babysitter, which made the mom go mad again. She started screaming for her family, but nothing. And while she was yelling and looking for her husband and her daughter, she goes to Hannah's room and sees Jack under the closet and dead. Rebecca falls on her knees crying and screaming, why and why. And while she was screaming, she looked over her head and there was blood dripping. Rebecca lifts her head and looks over to the ceiling and she sees Hannah with a stick right through her stomach and a sign right next to her that says, "She is mine now." Rebecca loses her senses one more and falls to the ground. After hours, she wakes up at the hospital and starts screaming, "I want my daughter, I want my daughter." The doctors heard her and gave her a calming pill. She was locked up and she started talking to a wall and calling for her daughter. Jack's death remains unexplained and Hannah was never found. That was okay. Next one, I will save this one for last. Okay, here we go. It starts off saying, "Hello, I would like to tell you a story that's about an haunted house, or else called the House of the Steps. The story begins on the 19th century when in that house lived a 4-member family. The kids were 2, one boy and one girl, and let's name them John and Maria. They weren't too old. Yanis. Sorry, but it says Yanis here. So John was around 15 and Maria was a few years younger. The legend says that Maria used to see different dreams with ghosts, demons, and etc. But there was one dream. People claim that it wasn't a dream only, that it actually happened, but we will get to that. There was one dream that she kept seeing every night around midnight. There was a man or a shadow. It wasn't quite possible to tell. That every night around that time got inside their house. Maria heard the steps towards the bedroom because everyone else was asleep. When the man's shadow entered the bedroom, he went over her brother's bed and watched him over for a few minutes, and then he went to her parents' bedroom. The legend says that if she saw someone that wasn't sleeping at the time and was awake and alive, she would kill them instantly. So Maria most of those nights pretended to be asleep, even though she wasn't, and she could hear the steps and know that he was there. One night, she saw her brother awake at that time, and she also heard her parents that were talking. On midnight, she started hearing those steps getting closer and closer to the bedroom. That night, her brother went missing. So did her parents, both in her dream and in reality. The girl had told the dream to a lot of people, and of course no one believed her, so she decided to stay inside the house an entire day. All day she was crying, until it was midnight, but she didn't want to pretend to be asleep this time. She wanted the shadow to take her, so she would be with her family again. Whatever the cost, even that cost was her own life. At midnight, the steps began to be heard again, but this time it didn't go towards the bedroom. It was like it was walking around the house, but Maria was determined to end this, so she started yelling and screaming. Then the steps started becoming faster, louder, and harder. As soon as the shadow got to Maria's room, he reached out to her and started staring at her. But Maria had lost all her courage. So he took her and he killed her. That was supposedly a nightmare, but the next morning the entire house was empty. No one was there. No one found out what happened to the family. Just this legend. Today the house, of course, it doesn't have any people inside, and it's said that whoever goes inside, he hears those steps and the loud screams of the girl, but doesn't see anything. Some other people have claimed to have seen a black figure reach out and close to them. The most terrifying thing is that a few years later, after the disappearance of the family, and after the story had become known, a group of 4 got inside the house, but never got out, and their bodies were never found. Lastly, it is said that if you visit that house yourself, you will experience the nightmare as well. Next one. In Hermopolis of Syros, and in the road towards Kini, 2 kilometers outside of the town center, there is a house that has been abandoned for ages. Every single house around that one has been torn down, and they have built new and more improved houses. But not this one. This house hasn't been touched. This house, it's claimed to be in a really great location, but no one has bought it and no one has dared to even try and do any changes on it. Whoever had bought it in the past had died after a while. It's also heard that the neighbors some nights hear noises from chains. The police has went a couple of times to find some leads or clues, so they will have an idea about who's doing all that. Maybe someone has gone and lived inside the house and they have no idea about it, but they haven't found someone. The thing is, it sounds like a weird story, but it's in a great location and the neighbors would love nothing more than to tear it down and build something there, so there's no reason for them to make up a whole story for a house, considering that it does them more damage than good. The house is actually painted in the same color as the color of blood. That's why it's called the Red House. It was summer night, and me and my cousins were riding our bikes towards the center. There are many roads, but we choose the largest so we can enjoy our ride. In that road, there is an old house, which is no longer. There aren't people living there anymore. So, as we were riding our bikes down the street, we noticed that the street light was trembling, and that caught our eye. I didn't pay much attention, not as much as my two cousins. I told them that we had to leave because we were late. At that moment, I saw a weird figure on the inside of the house through the window. I thought that it was someone who was trying to scare us, and I think he had succeeded. He didn't seem to be coming out towards us, but he kept standing there. But that wasn't the thing that terrified me. It seemed like it was a figure of an old man, which was weird for someone that age. There was a sound heard from the inside of the house. I yelled, "Come on, man, this isn't funny." The figure went away right in front of our eyes, and a door was heard really loud. We got on our bikes and we rode away terrified. The same night, we asked our grandfathers about the house. They told us about an old man that wasn't very friendly and lived in that house for a long time by himself. He lost his life in the same house. The cause? They weren't so sure. Some people say from cancer, some people say from heart disease, and there are also rumors that he killed himself. I asked for his name, and we searched it up with the guys at the graveyard the very next day. After we found his grave, we saw the date that said 5th of April 1920, and that night we had 5th of April 2010. Coincidence? I would like to think so. Either way, the experience will remain one for the books. Man, imagine riding your bike in the middle of nowhere just to get back and seeing that. And last one, we have the Haunted Hotel of the Oscars. Hotel Roosevelt is located in number 5000 of Hollywood Boulevards in Hollywood. I'm sorry, but the Greek in me keeps reading Greek and it keeps coming out. I'm sorry. Every year, many famous people stay there. Due to its location, it's one of the best hotels to stay at. But Roosevelt isn't as innocent as it seems. Roosevelt is considered today one of the most famous haunted buildings of Los Angeles. The tenants talk about children ghosts playing in the hallways, about the dead pianist with the white tux that plays in the lobby, but mostly for two famous ghosts, Marilyn Monroe and Montgomery Clift. Marilyn Monroe used to stay at the Roosevelt Hotel so often that she also bought decorations to turn her favorite suite 246 into something more cozy and more familiar. In between those decorations, it was a whole body mirror that was always attached across from her bed. After her sudden death, the hotel owners hid the mirror in the attic until when there was a renovation at the hotel, a designer suggested that they hang the mirror in the lobby. From that moment until today, the stories about the ghost of Marilyn showing up at the mirror, whether it's to put on some lipstick or to comb her blonde hair, won't stop. They keep hearing that again and again. Now let's go to the other famous spirit. Montgomery Clift was another famous spirit that's haunting the Roosevelt Hotel. He used to stay there in 1952 during the shootings of the movie From Here Until Eternity. Today, people from all over the world are asking to stay at his suite with the number 928 with the hope of seeing his ghost. Many people keep supporting and claiming that they see him in the room doing the same things, whether that's turning on the heat of the air condition, making the heat unbearable, and sometimes messing up with the volume of the radio. Some other people claim to feel him. That's kind of creepy. Some people claim to feel him close to them and breathing over their shoulders as they're walking on the lobby on the hallway of the 8th floor. There's also the frozen corner in the ballroom, Blossom Room. That's where the first Oscar Academy Awards were held in 1989. There are hundreds of people talking about a spot on the south side or north side, I don't know which one this is, corner of the room. It's a space about 4 meters where the entire year the temperature is at least 10 degrees lower than the temperature at the rest of the room. Whoever dares to reach the haunted corner feels a cold breeze of air wrap him. Psychics and mediums that have visited the corner claim that they see a man with a black tux waiting for something impatiently in the corner. Maybe waiting to hear his name for an award that he never got. Who knows? To be honest, I am not a full believer of ghost stories and all those kind of things. I do believe in something other than our existence, something different than us. I don't know if it's ghosts, I don't know if it's aliens or something, but I do believe that certain stories have an amount of truth in them. Like, if it was just one person sharing some stories, I would say that that person is making it up, but there are many people claiming the same things, and some people actually did some research in the place and the events, so there has to be some sort of truth in them. I don't know what amount of truth, but I do believe that there's a sort of truth in them. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you would like for me to read more ghost stories, maybe from different kind of thing, like not haunted houses or places, then let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!